been destroyed. Request backup. Maniac, if I stick around. Godlike.
Magic lies in the mind.
Thanks for the support, and screw you guys for making me do a full course on the day I get back. So, by popular demand, I have been ushered into giving you guys a full course on the best waifu in the game, 11. As usual with my full course hero guides, I'll start off kind of basic, and then get into the nitty-gritty details. We will first go over her skill set, and I'll give my opinions on what I think about it overall. Then we will head into the item builds, which generally take a long time. Afterwards, we will go for the recommended playstyle for 11, the lane of choice, go over her difficulty level, some skill combos, and then we'll get into some jungle tips, gank tips, and tricks, you know the deal. Her strengths and weaknesses, her compatible heroes, her counter pick heroes, if she's ban worthy or not, and you know, like the overall rating. So that does it for formalities. Only thing left to clear out is who is 11? Well, 11 is the affectionate name I gave Wan Wan. Wanna know why? Because if you say the number 1 2 times, you say Wan Wan, which is 11 or Wan Wan. So let's go ham and start analyzing 11's kit. We'll start with her passive since it's the number 1 most important thing on her. Tiger Pace is single-handedly the strongest part of Wan Wan's kit. It used to be a harder to use type thing, but now it only consists of 4 marks, each of which take 2.5% of the target's max HP. Altogether, that's 10%, the same amount as 4 of Carrie's wheel marks. Once all the marks are on the target, they will receive a different kind of mark. It's like an arrow or a kunai. This one lets you use your ultimate and also increases the damage dealt to the target by 30%. If you don't actually manage to completely mark your targets, the little indicators last for 11 seconds and can be used to gain visibility of enemies even as they try to hide. And also, in case you're wondering, the 30% damage increase only applies to her basic attacks, not item effects, so you don't get like a 30% damage increase on Demon Hunter Sword, in case you were wondering. The second part of Tiger Pace involves a dash. Unlike other dashes, since this is not a blink skill, it cannot be contained by Minsithar's ultimate. But it is still a mechanical dash, and therefore Khufra can and will contain it. I'm just kidding. Moving on, so her skill 1 throws little red birds at a certain area. Anyone hit along the way gets Tiger's Pace's 4 marks on them. If you do a basic attack first and then you throw your birds, the bird on the way out will consume a mark, or kind of like basically count as a basic attack, just in case you're wondering again. The 3 birds, however, that she throws, they do return to her, and if 2 of them hit the same target, meaning the same enemy, there will be a mini stun of 0.5 seconds that takes place. On the way back, they also, of course, manage to hit the mark on the back of your enemies for Tiger Pace, so you don't have to do a full circle around them to get your ultimate unlocked. It's pretty neat for a skill since it can be a safe way to do damage and clear waves, while at the same time turning into a runaway skill when needed. You can also consider her skill 2 a portable and weaker Purify, just like Cho's. For the duration of the animation, Wan Wan removes all crowd control effects from her and then is granted another dash thanks to Tiger Pace. This is why I said Khufra is the only thing that can really stop her in a jokingly manner. All she has to do is skill 2 and run through him. As for her ultimate, well, let's just say it's pretty good too. If Tiger Pace didn't have the 11-second ward, this would single-handedly be the strongest part of her kit. So the way you activate it is you have to get all 4 marks on an enemy in order to gain that previously mentioned 30% damage boost final mark. If you kill an enemy, or if the enemy dies while your ultimate is in use, your ultimate will immediately go on to the next lowest visible target and extend the duration for 1 second. Even if the enemy is in the brush and you can see them due to your passive, technically they're not visible, like according to the game, so even if they're lower, you won't be targeting people in the brush unless you're actually in the brush, which you can do if you can kind of think that way while you're in the ultimate state. It's not that easy. Anyways, back to the ultimate. If you're in ultimate mode, the first kill or the first time you use it, that first target, your ultimate will only last for 2.5 seconds. After that, it either cancelled or you chain on to the next enemy. The bonus perk, apart from, actually lasting 2.5 seconds, is let's say you didn't consume your full 2.5 seconds and you only took 0.3 seconds, you still have 2.2 seconds of your ultimate left. And if you chain kill onto another person, it's additive, so now you have 3.2 seconds technically on that next target. But another bonus perk even on top of that is you gain a 40% attack speed. Why does this matter? Well, because the amount of hits that come out of this ultimate are based on your attack speed. So the more, the merrier. Now you can't get a Savage from this ultimate, unfortunately, because it is restricted to 3 switches max. But hey, Maniacs are nice. There is reason to believe that her ultimate would proc DHS or other similar items, since it clearly states that her ultimate moves are considered as basic attacks. No actual item effect even counts on her ultimate damage except for lifesteal, so take it with a grain of salt. Oh, and before I forget, she's completely immune to all damage and crowd control during her ultimate, so yeah, that's definitely a lifesaver. And that pretty much completely covers what her kit does. What do I think? Well, personally, it looks balanced right now. Not too strong, not too weak. I would give her a shield based on her attack speed when she uses the Purify skill though. Usually you don't use it unless you're in a pinch, so it would be nice to have a little extra protection there. I'm just saying. Otherwise, if you did make her ultimate proc DHS and Golden Staff, we would have an immune to damage, broken as heck, new YouTube rules because child friendly, whatever, Clawed type monster on the battlefield. And since most of you, or a lot of you, think she's weak right now, and Moonton isn't getting the profits, they will most likely buff her a little bit too much. Now, onward to the emblem and talent. There's really only 2 options here, but I would definitely stick to the Weakness Finder talent on the Marksman emblem. Bounty Hunter, the other option, is nice and all, but Weakness Finder is just way more practical for her kit. Her damage early game is kind of low, but only on the Assassin emblem. We usually grab that emblem for the pen and the movement speed, but you kind of don't need it on 11. Alright, so now comes the longest part of the video. Great! I usually just select one of these options and then tell you why it works. Just because this is a 100% full course, I will have to give you all of the details and situations in which you would take either build. I will, however, start with the default one. You will want to default to this build no matter what. It's the only thing that can hold out against her biggest counters. Oh, and before we really get into it, let me share some info with you. Unless you have a laning partner that will help you jungle, do not take any jungling items, not even the knife, on Wan Wan. You will hurt your overall pacing and lose a lot of damage early game when you need it the most. Another thing to note is that you should always build Swift boots first, and then sell the boots when your item slots are full for the 6th item you see in my builds. And last but not least, the only 2 viable battle spells for her are Aegis and Aegis. Thank you, let's move along. 11's overall kit and statistics are worrisome for normal marksman players because her critical damage is super low, and she isn't strong enough to run a reasonably typical full marksman build without getting one-shot by any mage or late game fighter. Most other marksmen have a way around this, and she does too, you just may not like it. Demon Hunter Sword is first, mostly because it is the only item in the game that provides a reliable source of damage to enemies, attack speed, lifesteal, and some physical attack on top. Her next item is Corrosion Scythe. You also need this because it is the highest basic attack percent boost increaser in the game, and because of the slowdown combined with Weakness Finder, targets will have a harder time escaping you and preventing you from collecting all of your marks. It is at this point that, depending on the game and how far ahead your team is, that you may purchase a jungle knife if you wish. I still wouldn't recommend it, honestly. Next up is Haas's Claws, but this one is interchangeable with the Wind of Nature. What will decide which one comes first will be the amount of physical burst on the enemy side. If there's an Aldous, a Bruno, and a Saber, I think you would find yourself struggling to survive without prioritizing the Wind of Nature. However, against less bursty comps, it's not something you want to prioritize over a higher attack stat. It's not something you want to prioritize over the higher attack stat and lifesteal bonus that Haas's Claws carry. After that, we would get Rose Gold Meteor, since Wan Wan's biggest weakness is AoE Burst. If you can survive the burst and heal it back before the next big burst, I think you found a way around your weakness. Wind of Nature being there will definitely be of help, but what if most of the burst damage is magical? Do I still get Wind of Nature 0? Well, no, not in that case. In that case, you would still get Haas's Claws first, but right after would be the Rose Gold Meteor. Rose Gold is the only item that will still benefit you as a marksman and provide an anti-burst shield solution that is not exclusive to physical damage. Now, I know things got complicated there, and I still haven't even explained why Wotak, or Queen's Wings, or Wings of the Apocalypse Queen, whatever they're called now. Let me just wrap up and then repeat it in a simplified way, okay? Hang on with me. So after Rose Gold Meteor, assuming you followed the build as is, you will sell the boots and equip Wotak. The reason for this is that the most damaging HP based item, Demon Hunter Sword, cannot activate when your Rose Gold procs that shield, and even then, the damage from the basic attacks is reduced by half. But let's just say that even in tower diving, it can literally save your life, as the damage reduction from Wotak can also affect tower hits that are considered true damage. And you can try this yourself in custom. Take a tower hit that takes 600 damage, for example, and then take it again, but this time with the Wotak passive on you. You will see that it gets reduced to 300. It's pretty nifty. Alright, so let's recap and simplify. Swift Boots, Demon Hunter Sword, Corrosion Scythe, check. Then, if the enemy has a normal burst, not overwhelming, but still powerful, you take Haas's Claws, and if the burst is more physical, again, not overwhelming though, you get Wind of Nature next, followed by Rose Gold Meteor, and then remember to sell your boots for Wotak. Scenario 2. If the burst is mostly magical, overwhelming, or not, then get Rose Gold right after Haas's Claws, and then get Wotak right after Rose Gold Meteor. Again, remember to sell your boots for Wind of Nature in this case. Scenario 3. If the enemy has overwhelming physical AoE burst, we're talking Leomord, Bane, Aldous, Cho, Jawhead, Hayabusa, Ling, Lancelot type enemies, then in this case, right after DHS and Corrosion, you get Wind of Nature, and then follow it with Rose Gold and Wotak. At the end, sell your boots for Haas's Claws. And then we move along to the next set of builds. These are higher damaging builds. They are not better than the builds I have just described to you or the variations of it. They are for specific situations. If the enemy is extremely tanky, we're talking 2 tanks, 2 fighters, and a healer, then take the Golden Demon build. If the enemy has no tank whatsoever, and is kind of counting on an off-tank fighter to handle the damage, then go for the critical build. Any other combination of enemies, you must stick to the original 3 builds I mentioned. You will not survive otherwise. I'm telling you this from battle experience, and this is me playing with Aegis, okay? And in case you're wondering, well, how much more damage do these things do? Well, I tried it against a tank, and the damage difference, well, it only took 3 seconds longer with the lifesteal build. I don't see the big difference, honestly. So as we get into which recommended playstyle or lane, well, let's just say Wan Wan has a hero kit that, technically speaking, benefits from mid lane the most, especially early game. But no matter what lane you choose, you shouldn't ever try to stay in the same lane for long. As long as you prioritize lane clearing and enemy harassment, then you will have a good early game with Wan Wan. If you focus jungle, like most other marksmen, you will suffer heavily when facing enemy invasion comps. My personal preference for laning with Wan Wan would be top lane, but only because the chances of someone leaving you mid lane are slim to none. Recently I haven't even been able to go to my preferred lane, top lane, because everybody seems to be moving along the top lane for no reason. Speaking of moving along for no reason, let's go to the hero complexity explanation. So yeah, in terms of how complex Wan Wan is, well, I would say using her isn't too hard. The biggest understatement you can say is that she sucks early game. For once, Moonton made a marksman that isn't good at jungling, and I could not be happier. This helps players learn that it's not always about living in the jungle 24/7, oblivious to your surroundings. However, back to the subject at hand, I would say that what's difficult about Wan Wan is being able to handle enemy burst with your build reliably, and then after that, not just chain killing with your ultimate, but managing to hit all of your marks during the chain kills in your ult can also prove to be challenging sometimes, depending on the enemy hero. Skill combo chains. Now, this is the part where I show you some combos, but instead of me talking, I'll let you take a break, enjoy the music, and watch all of these clashes. You should be able to slow down the video if you think you saw something nice and you want to replicate it. The problem with her is that her combos aren't really based on skill casting, but more on positioning, and so it's not really easy to explain by word of mouth. It's just easier for you to see with your own eyes, honestly. Enjoy! Okay, I'm back. Time for some jungle tips. When playing 11, if you absolutely must jungle, like you feel empty inside without jungling, then make sure you can do it safely. Now if you want to focus on jungling, again, I highly recommend against it, but it doesn't mean it isn't possible. It's just not ideal. It's like you're wasting your time. I know some of you will still do it anyways, so in order for you to feed a little less when jungling, I will say that you need to take a fighter with you, or a tank that can kinda jungle too. The main reason is she just wasn't made for jungling. If you paid attention earlier, if you can wait until after getting Corrosion Scythe, you can jungle alone and pretty fast, but before that, well, good luck. Of course, my favorite part is now here, ganking tips and tricks. While not omnipotent, Wan Wan provides an absolutely broken ward or ability to see enemies even as they hide in the brush for a whole 11 seconds. I can't stress how important and useful this ability is. Your team can take advantage of it so much. both in offense and chasing kills, or in defense and preventing surprise ganks. However, in the event of clashes, there's always a way to use Wan Wan. You obviously want to mark at least one enemy completely to unlock your ultimate, always. If the enemy you have marked is a tank, just use your ultimate as they are about to die to chain kill onto his team. It's kind of important that you secure at least one chain kill with your ultimate, but there are some scenarios where you can't do this simply due to the fact that if you don't use your ultimate, you will die. Your ultimate, in this case, can be used in a vast array of ways. You can use it to run away if need be as well. I recommend you try to maintain as many enemy heroes in the range of your ultimate while also trying to completely mark every new target you get. This will boost your damage to said target by 30%, and since the chain kill grants a 40% attack speed, you will land the same amount of hits in 1 second as you would in the original 2.5 seconds if you never got a boost in attack speed. It's just the way she was designed. Moving along to 11 strengths and weaknesses, and no, I won't sugarcoat this at all, trust me. Her strengths are chain kill / finisher hero, massive mobility in team fights, massive escapability due to her skill set having purify and immunity, and her weaknesses are, well, she's extremely weak to AoE burst, magical or physical, and she's a bad jungler. Wan Wan's compatible heroes or synergy heroes are Bedang, Minotaur, Ling, Baxia, Lilia, Akai, Franco, and Sask. Her counterpick heroes, or heroes you would take to counter her, would be Bane, Leomord, Guzhin, Ling, Saber, Kaja, Franco, and Harley. Is she ban-worthy? Well, I don't know. I think banning Wan Wan is probably the same as banning a Cho. If you know the enemy has a really nasty Cho player that is core to their team comp, you ban him. The same thing applies to Wan Wan, I mean honestly. That's just the way I see it. So yeah, that's pretty much all I know about, Wan Wan. This is absolutely everything dumped out. There's a couple of little nuances here, like for example, you can kind of see invisible Natalia's, like you can't see her figure, but you can still see like the traveling ring around. And Rafaela completely stopping your ultimate, like if you chain kill onto a Rafaela, you kind of like get stuck on her ghost or something. And a little bit of bugs here and there, but they're not worthy of real mentioning, honestly. It's just, you'll have to kind of experience it for yourself and just take a mental note when you fight those kinds of heroes. And since I haven't fought every single hero yet, well, that's pretty much as extensive as my knowledge gets, honestly. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and, as usual, Zero out.
Across the room, the spotlight dancing on you. I hope these words, they come out right. Can't be waiting on me all night. Just gotta play it cool. Can't take my eyes off of you. I don't know what I'm gonna do if I can't get some time with you. Just gotta play it cool. Don't wanna act like a fool. I hope these words, they come out right. Can't be waiting on me all night. Just gotta play it cool. Can't take my eyes off of you. I don't know what I'm gonna do if I can't get some time with you. Just gotta play it cool.